In this video, I'd like to look at some Protestant scholars. A few presentations ago I spoke about Rudolf Bultmann, and I'd like to return to him. He was influenced by the existentialist philosopher Martin Heidegger, and Bultmann pioneered a scholarly approach called demythologization. That's quite a mouthful. Demythologization, for Bultmann, meant that he considered the New Testament to have been written in a largely mythological style. And he appreciated that mythology was useful for the early Christians, but he believed that those myths were a hindrance to Christians today. So he aimed to overcome those mythologies, that is, to demythologize the New Testament. The way he did that was to approach the stories of Jesus through an existentialist way of thinking. What he regarded as important were not the objective historical facts of Jesus, but the faith or meaning that one may see in the stories of Jesus. And this is why, if we go back to a previous video, Bultmann drew a contrast between the Jesus of history and the Christ of faith. For him, what ultimately matters is not the historical Jesus, but the Christ of faith, that is the one that we can find meaning in his stories. Now that can sound extreme, but it's confirmed by Bultmann's own statement that Christian faith does not really depend on the historical issues at hand. For Bultmann, what is important is faith in the present moment of human beings, not a recovery of the events of the past. Another scholar, Willi Marxen, was very similar in some ways to Bultmann. The essence of Marxen's thinking was that the New Testament accounts of the resurrection were all theological statements, so he would regard it as practically impossible to recover the factual history of what happened. His research concluded that the experience of the early church, especially the experience of St. Peter, was that Jesus was alive. But Marxen believes that the way that Jesus was alive was by way of his mission continuing after his death. That is, that the followers of Jesus, especially Peter, continued the mission of Jesus, and that his mission was so alive that it felt as if Jesus was alive. And so Marxen believes that this experience of the continuing mission of Jesus led to the legends, as he would put it, of the empty tomb, the resurrection appearances, and the other accounts of the New Testament. There is an irony, and it's a cruel irony, in that both Bultmann and Marxen were interested in demythologization. Yet, in their reconstruction of the resurrection, they both created new myths. That is, that they remythologized the New Testament in order to explain the resurrection stories in terms that were acceptable to the liberal Protestant theology of their time. I don't want to be too harsh on Bultmann and Marxen, but in the process of demythologizing the New Testament to fit the way that we think today, unfortunately, they have been guilty of remythologizing the New Testament to fit the way that people of today think. Against scholars like Bultmann and Marxen, we see more realist scholars like Wolfhart Pannenberg. And Pannenberg highlights an important challenge to Christianity. He said that since the advent of critical scholarship in the Enlightenment, Christianity has faced the critical challenge of whether Christianity is a genuine faith or just a superstition. He approaches the resurrection from two perspectives. One is to examine the life of Jesus, and he considers the fact that Jesus was supposed to have revealed God to us. But in the face of the indignity of his death, in the face of the humiliation and scandal of his death, people can doubt his mission. Certainly, people who witnessed the crucifixion of Jesus saw the end of his mission and doubted him. So where does the resurrection fit in? The resurrection for Pannenberg stands as the divine vindication, God's vindication of Jesus and his mission. In other words, the crucifixion is a catastrophe that can cause doubt about Jesus and his mission. The resurrection is the answer to that, saying that yes, God vindicates Jesus, his work, his life, and his mission. Pannenberg holds that without the historical reality of the resurrection, Christian faith would be less than genuine faith. It would be more like a superstition. The second perspective that Pannenberg has is to view the resurrection as an anticipation of the end or the fulfillment of history. Pannenberg holds that human history parallels the life and death of Jesus. Our lives are intended for good, but we suffer. And so too with Jesus. His life, our existences are intended for good, but we suffer indignity and evil along the way. Pannenberg says, and I'm putting Pannenberg into my words here, the resurrection is an effective witness to the end and fulfillment of history. It's an end or a fulfillment, and I prefer the word fulfillment, a fulfillment in which we who have faith in God will find that God will do for all of us what God has done in Jesus Christ. That is, the resurrection is a pivotal event. It's a symbolic event, not symbolic in the sense that it didn't happen, but a symbol of what will happen for all of us. That just as evil and suffering were overcome in the resurrection of Jesus, that all evil will be overcome for those of us who have faith in Christ risen. And that perspective of Pannenberg resonates very much with the theology of St. Paul, who looks to the resurrection of Jesus as the exemplar, if you like, of what will happen for all of us who have faith in Jesus.